The retirement safety net that 67 million Americans depend on right now is going broke. And every single politician in Washington knows it, not suspects it, not worries about it, knows it. Because the government publishes the math every single year in a report that almost nobody reads. And that math says the same thing it's been saying for a decade. Social Security runs out of money in 2033. That's not a prediction. That's not a doomer take. That's the official government projection sitting on the Social Security Administration's own website. But here's the part that should actually scare you. It's not that the money runs out. It's that when it does, benefits don't go to zero. They get cut by 23% automatically. No vote, no debate, no warning letter, just a haircut. And if you're 45 years old right now, that cliff hits right around the time you were planning to retire. So why is nobody talking about it? Because it's not a crisis yet. And in Washington, if it's not a crisis yet, it doesn't exist. Let's go back to how this system was actually built, because Social Security was never designed like a savings account. It wasn't set up so your contributions go into a vault with your name on it. It was set up as a pay-as-you-go system. The workers paying in today fund the retirees collecting today. That's it. No vault, no personal account, just a generational transfer. And for decades, that math worked. Because in 1950, there were 16 workers for every retiree. The system was flush. The ratio was comfortable. The math was easy. But then something happened that nobody planned for. Americans stopped having kids at the same rate. The baby boomers aged out of the workforce. And now there are just 2.7 workers for every retiree. The same system designed for 16 is now running on 2.7. That's not a funding gap. That's a structural collapse happening in slow motion. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Because the Social Security Trust Fund does exist. Congress has been collecting surplus payroll taxes for decades and parking them in a special account. Sounds safe, right? Here's the catch. That trust fund isn't sitting in cash. It's invested entirely in U.S. Treasury bonds, meaning the government borrowed its own surplus, spent it on other things, and replaced it with IOUs. So when Social Security needs to draw down that trust fund to pay benefits, the Treasury has to come up with the cash, which means more debt issuance, which means more pressure on the bond market, which means the same long-end yield problem I've talked about before just got a new source of pressure. The trust fund isn't a piggy bank, it's an accounting entry. And the political math is just as broken as the financial math. Because fixing Social Security requires one of three things: raise the payroll tax, cut benefits, or raise the retirement age, and every single one of those options costs votes. So instead, every administration for the past 30 years has done the same thing. They've kicked the can, commissioned studies, formed committees, issued statements about protecting seniors, and moved on. Meanwhile, the clock kept ticking. And this is the real story. Not that Social Security is going broke in some abstract future sense, but that the system was designed for a demographic reality that no longer exists. That the trust fund everyone assumes is protecting them is actually just Treasury debt, and that the politicians who could fix it have decided that being re-elected is more important than telling you the truth. 67 million people are collecting right now. 10,000 baby boomers are still hitting retirement age every single day. And the ratio keeps getting worse. The math doesn't work. It never worked long term. And the only people who haven't been told that are the ones who depend on it most. That's why I made this channel. Because the real threats aren't the loud ones. The real threats are the ones the government publishes in a report and quietly hopes you never read. Hit subscribe, because there's a lot more of this math that nobody's showing you.